walks in the door. Evan White, with so many strong ideas, he's creative to the core. Evan White, cause he's been at it for 20 whole years with plenty to show for his illustrious career. So if you're looking to grow your brand, then Evan White is here. Cause talent tech PR is sure to take you very far. The HR tech space has a fresh face, and it'll make your brand a star. Spinning straw into gold and taking flight, you'll be soaring through the sky at incredible heights with talent tech PR from Evan White.
I can't get enough of that. I cannot get enough of that. Every time it just hits me right in the heartstrings. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is the 19th day of May in the year 2026. He is Ron Fish. I am Adam Poser, and we are live on the HR Morning Show. Good morning, Ron. What's happening?
Hey, what's happening, Adam? Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a hot minute. What is happening in your world? You're just back from ERE. How was that?
Yeah, it was an awesome time. They trusted me to be the MC, and I think they probably regret it a little bit, but overall it went well. Some bad jokes. I had to finally make fun of myself, make fun of guys like Matt Alder, and got the crowd behind me finally. But yeah, it was a good time, great event, lots of great topics, very timely topics as well.
Ooh, well, first of all, crowd work. That's a tough one. You got to do a little bit of crowd work. But let's talk topical. What were a couple of the key takeaways, hot discussion points coming away from ERE?
So I was fortunate to present with a guy named Raghav Singh on my favorite topic of accessibility, disability, inclusion. But we focused on how AI is creating barriers for people with disabilities that are applying for jobs and in other aspects as well. So we sort of talked about how AI is sort of leaving people behind, but there were topics on how to hire 50,000 people a year with only 20 recruiters, topics, discussing, of course, AI, but candidate fraud, a lot of things that are really running rampant these days. So, a lot of very timely topics. It was really good. I think everybody got a lot out of it.
Awesome. And I think there's so much value in the small conferences because there are multiple reasons. One, they're more intimate. You're spending a lot of time with the same amount of people. That fosters deeper conversations. The big events are great, but you're spread out. But here you get to spend time with people, really deepen those connections, have, deep conversation. Who is one new friend that kind of stood out to you? One new connection that you're like, wow, I'm so glad that we met and formed a relationship.
Yeah, well, I saw this guy, Evan White, there. It was, I
You
took
can't
a
miss him.
picture in spite of that really bright shirt he had, but really, really good guy. Certainly loved the ERE team, small but mighty team there. Enjoyed spending time and kind of getting even more behind the scenes with those folks. But yeah, I met so many people, some people that I had even been on, podcasts or webinars with, and finally met him in person, but lots of great practitioners in our space.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Well, summer's around the corner. We were talking before the show. It's warming up here in New York. Summertime's around the corner. Ron, what's on your summer concert calendar?
Summer concert calendar. Well, so my kids are actually, and they're all adults today, but they're going to apparently Baby Metal in September. With a side of a hailstorm, I think, there. So
That's intense.
that's pretty interesting. I declined the invite. I've actually got a very busy calendar that day. But they're excited about that. And I do see I'm actually sort of slid over to the comedy side a little bit. So I'm following some comedians, looking forward to some good, fun shows. But yeah, always lots of great concerts coming to Charlotte.
It's a hot one. Speaking of comedy, we just saw, didn't see, but I saw on the calendar Sebastian Maniscalco, right? Did I say his name right? Yeah, he will be performing at the Jones Beach Theater, which is around the corner from me, which should be a good one. Might consider that one. But yeah, tons of great music. Summertime's around the corner. Everyone listening and tuning in, we appreciate you. Just as a reminder, we're part of the Purple Acorn Network. We're here every Tuesday morning. Your number one spot for all things HR all morning long. We are a podcast. We're on LinkedIn. You can follow us on YouTube, and make sure you follow along and come along for the ride. Jump into the comments here. Big shout out to our marquee sponsor, calendarpa.com. When you need a calendar option that's better than everything else, because you think about things that you don't have. It has it. So check out calendarpa.com. Let's go on to headlines. It's time for headlines. What do we got for number one cooking today? We're still talking about it. Meta is rolling out a mega layoffs around the clock. What a daunting, awful headline. Layoffs around the clock. That means they're just continuing to lay off people. So the headlines here, Meta plans to lay off 10% of its staff on Wednesday. The tech giant shared more details on Monday with what to expect. Here's what to expect. You're getting laid off, and we're going to blame it on AI. This is a tough one. I mean, companies are announcing record profits and they continue to lay people off. This is aggressive restructuring. They keep pushing it, saying it's about AI. I think that AI certainly plays a piece of it, but I think it's a bit of a scapegoat. I think a lot of companies are still kind of recalibrating from binge hiring in early pandemic and resetting here, and they're blaming AI. What's your take here, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, the scariest thing when Meta does these things is it shifts the whole industry, right? I mean, like everybody reacts when if Google or Meta or Amazon does these big layoffs, suddenly everybody reacts. And, those that are in the job market, certainly it's another level of panic because when everybody reacts, it slows hiring as well.
Absolutely. It's a signal that it's okay. And we saw this during the pandemic. We see it all the time that the smaller companies are looking for the big companies that they could just kind of hide under their headlines, right? Oh, well, Meta's doing it. So we're going to use that as an excuse to trim the fat. And I think that, with any organization, right, you're always trimming the fat in some aspects because that's what you need to do for operational efficiencies. But to keep blaming everything on AI, who's going to be the middle managers? Who's actually going to train the AI? Who's doing the actual work? That's my question.
Yeah, AI has botched a lot out there, and it definitely is not doing what everybody thought it was going to. So to say that, suddenly AI is actually replacing people, I think at scale, AI can eventually cause you to have to hire a few less people. But overall, I mean, I don't even see it happening anytime in the near future where we're replacing entire teams with AI.
Well, it's interesting. What were we talking about offline? A sneak preview of an article coming out next week, which I believe, keep me straight here, OpenAI is about to launch a business division, which is going to basically put AI agents into companies to teach companies about AI replacing humans on the horizon.
That's great. It's another avenue for hacking, it sounds like to me. So I'm sure all the hackers are licking their chops.
It's a safe one. It's a safe bet that that's going to be a headline for the news for next week. Another interesting but separate but related piece is really thinking about how these mega companies are reframing from Facebook, for example, Meta being a social company to being an energy company. How much energy they're consuming, with these data centers, and they're buying up and creating their own reactors. Right? They're creating power and becoming these power companies, some shifting from, what their core competency is that everyone thinks to really being an energy company. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. I've got some colleagues that are in that industry, in TA, hiring individuals that power data centers, that cool the data centers. It's just such a huge industry. It was getting that way with cloud, right? I mean, cloud was really bursting onto the scene and causing all these new data centers to be built. But now with AI, it's just expanded. So I can only imagine it would make sense to try to create your own power sources for this stuff and not necessarily buy the power from the local electric providers.
I mean, talk about how this is going to play into government regulation, right? Like, this is a whole new can of worms that's moving very, very fast. It's scary out there. The other piece, too, is we're talking about these folks that are being laid off that are now re-entering the job market. That's already a highly saturated, flooded market. And here's who I really feel bad for in this type of job market. Listen, let's be real here. Not everyone could be an A player, right? And there's going to be B players, C players, and D players. When it's a candidate-driven market, those B and C players, it's a little bit easier to find a job. But right now, with such few openings, companies have their pick of the litter, right? They have their pick and saying, I want, and why wouldn't they? If you want to look at it from that perspective, why wouldn't I want the best available candidate? It's only going to make it tougher out there. What are you saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the A player shifts, right? Like what are we actually looking in an A player? It's so subjective and what they're looking for today. And I see even in our industry, a lot of individuals that get hired into senior level positions are just politicians. You know, they're not
Mhm.
actually, in my opinion, maybe I'm being a little controversial, but
No.
they're not necessarily like delivering like in the traditional way where we're just simply flat out delivering hiring people. But it's definitely become really subjective. And as you mentioned, if I'm looking for an A player that has a very, very specific niche in the industry, I can find that person today.
Yeah.
Where previously there might have been many of us that got considered for a role, but are not getting considered now as a result.
Yeah, and then you also have the piece too of the optics of someone working at a FANG company that's laid off and employers jumping on them because of this marquee name on their resume, but maybe they were not so great and passing over folks at smaller companies, maybe lesser known, that actually really good at what they do.
Oh yeah, hiring for pedigree is one of the pitfalls that we try to train hiring managers to, look at objectively, make sure you ask all of the same questions. Don't assume that
Hmm.
somebody coming from a household brand is going to be the right fit for the environment or the right individual that's going to actually deliver and drive hiring or whatever the skill set is. Without a doubt, can definitely be a challenge if you're focusing only on pedigree.
Absolutely. Let's pull up Trent's comment here. Trent jumping in from the sideline over here. I think this is a big one. The problem with this narrative is AI isn't replacing jobs; it's taking investment capital and diverting it to AI infrastructure and R&D. That is a very, very good point. We have to keep this narrative straight here. I think that to Trent's point, a lot of the PR headlines are being diluted. I think that a lot of companies are using this cover of AI replacing jobs when the truth is, what Trent's calling out, they're diverting capital elsewhere. But how do you frame that? And is it public facing yet? Do companies really want to be out front saying this is what we're really doing? Good point, Trent. Thanks for chipping that one in. Speaking of, let's keep the comments going in the conversation. We could talk about this all day, but let's move on to headline number 2. What do we got here, Ron?
So, antitrust suit alleges that Monster, Career Builder, and Resume Genius are all the same company. That to me is wild, right? I mean, if that's actually the case behind the scenes, like literally competition has shrunk, to a bubble, and everybody is going to be probably running back to LinkedIn. Everybody's trying to move away from LinkedIn because of pricing, and suddenly LinkedIn is going to have a field day really at the end of things. But if that is true, then we're in for a big awakening without a doubt.
So, Ron, you've been around the block here. Any alpha intel over here? I mean, is there? I mean, listen, if they're filing a suit, there has to be some evidence. There has to be something behind it. We need to have some meat on the bone here to make a lawsuit or even an allegation like this.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, I can't imagine that they would just come up with that out of the blue. And we all know the struggles that the traditional job boards. I remember when job boards became a thing, and all of us headhunters were worried that we were going to be replaced by college students that could now recruit and use the job boards, and now they're becoming more and more obsolete in many ways. And we see the struggles of Monster, and yeah, I mean, Monster was like the boilerplate at one
Hmm.
point for job boards. So and then to find out that they're perhaps consolidating and running as a unified organization behind the scenes, potentially, or allegedly under one umbrella, that is just wild. I mean, the implications there are huge. And at the end of the day, nobody's going to buy multiple platforms if they're all the same behind the scenes.
No, and it's also obviously when we keep talking about AI, how that's going to factor into the new job boards from an aggregator standpoint and showcasing, AI jobs. And we're already seeing it like with AI agents where you could buy an AI agent for specific roles. It's a fascinating time to be to be alive in this space here. Chime in the comments here. Anyone who knows a lot more than us about this, we'd love to hear. I think this is something we have to follow very closely in our industry and keep an eye on it. Anything else in the news that we're not talking about here that's interesting to you, Ron?
I'll just add, I didn't mention that Brian Fink had a great session at ERE, and he was actually talking about just that, about leveraging agents and how it's really advancing the sourcing side of things. But that was a great concept, and you had a great point how AI is really beginning to, I think, kind of replace the sourcer side of the function that we play.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for it to play in. There's so many good tools out there, and I saw a bunch of recent LinkedIn posts that are really saying, "Oh, are they all the same? Are they all pulling it from the same three data sources?" At the end of the day, they're still scraping LinkedIn, and we all just going to go back to LinkedIn. Fascinating time and space. We want to hear your thoughts on there. Are we ready to move on? I think I hear a caller coming in. Yes, no, maybe so. There he is. Okay, how you doing? Hello,
Hello,
hello, hello.
how are you?
Doing well. This is not the first time we connected. We had this chat back in March, I believe. So I love what I love about this is we got something really, really exciting, and I'm going to give you a big congrats over there. Do you want to share the news?
Yes, Ezra is has entered into a definitive agreement with Greenhouse for an acquisition.
That is exciting. That is super exciting. So for everyone out there who does not know you and your company, why is Greenhouse acquiring you? What is so awesome about what you guys have built that Greenhouse is like, we want them to be part of us?
Well, from the first day that I built Ezra, I came at I had a fundamental belief that candidates are just much more than a piece of paper, and that the resume is just not a sufficient way to understand a candidate. And by using voice, you can understand someone in far greater fidelity than a resume will ever represent them. And similarly, a job and a recruiting team is much more than a job description, much more than a piece of paper. And so it was kind of crazy to me that such an important decision that we make in our
Is that
lives.
on me or him?
Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah.
Alan?
So, sorry, you're
We
cutting
lose
in.
him? Or is that on
But
my side? I apologize for technical difficulties. We are back. We are back.
you,
Are we good
you,
now?
I can hear you. Yep. Um,
Great.
so what I was saying is that it kind of seemed crazy to me that such an important decision people make in their lives as to where they work and who they hire is done by comparison of two pieces of paper, a job description and a resume. And so I just really wanted to use voice to kind of get to know candidates and jobs in far greater fidelity. So I'm a voice AI engineer. I've been at this for about 3.5 years, kind of building voice AI systems that can really kind of get to know someone in a really deep way while keeping while keeping conversations very structured. And that was that was a technology that was kind of very aligned with the way that kind of Greenhouse approaches structured hiring as well. And there was kind of natural alignment in vision and product roadmaps. And so I've been honored to kind of get to know the team and to now introduce Ezra and the technology behind Ezra to a much greater audience.
So for anyone out there, I mean, I have a very important question too, and we might have addressed this last time. How does the technology work with accommodations for folks who may not be able to use their voice to express themselves, or folks that have other, impairments or disabilities that may prevent them, where being on voice is not their best self?
Absolutely, and actually, just 2 minutes before I jumped on this morning, I was reading some feedback from one of the candidates who did an interview overnight last night, and they said, I really appreciated how Ezra was so accommodating to my stutter. And I found it debilitating in other interviews, and Ezra handled it great. And there's kind of comments like that kind of really drive me. In general, our approach to this is we have different kind of formats of the interview. So you have the voice, we also have text, so people can read, they can
Okay.
slow it down, they can pause, they can ask for time. One of the interesting things about technology is that if you pause if you ask for time to stop, or you have lots of ums, ahs, and things like that, then it will not interrupt you. It won't kind of interject, which is something that normally is very frustrating when you're talking to a voice AI system.
Or talking to me.
Or talking to you, yeah, yeah. But I appreciate your interjections. And then also, none of the voice aspects, none of the vocal cues or vocal nuances is actually considered as part of the evaluation of a candidate. That's really
Right.
important to us. There's lots of big claims about what AI can and can't do. My philosophy in kind of building Ezra is there's certain things that humans can do and should do, and there's certain things that AI can do and should do. And I think kind of judging someone's voice and judging, making career decisions based on how they speak is just not something an AI can or should be doing anytime soon.
Right, without spilling the secret sauce too, like, removing biases. Like, how do we use the AI technology for everyone? The other side of the coin is saying that AI is biased, but how do you build processes and tools within this platform to work to remove biases?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this comes down to how you how you engineer the system and what you allow the AI to do versus not do. So, the, if you're not particularly thoughtful about how you're building a kind of an evaluation system, then and you're just kind of taking a transcript from the interview and giving it to an LLM like ChatGPT, and basically saying, give me a grade for this interview, which is what a lot of other platforms in the space effectively do, then you're going to expose yourself to a lot of bias. The way that we've constructed the system has been, I built it in partnership with about 150 TA leaders. And so, they were very helpful and very thoughtful about where in the system I'm allowing AI to make decisions and where am I kind of requiring the humans to make the decision. So, for example,
Interesting.
yeah. So, for example, when an interview is graded, let's say the interview covered 5 questions. We don't just give an arbitrary kind of result or a score to each of the 5 questions. Every judgment is done relative to a structured evaluation that the recruiter comes up, determines in advance of the interview. So everything is structured, everything is consistent. Everything is explainable, and we provide justification for every decision we make. And so that's kind of one of our kind of key approaches for removing kind of bias out of it.
So we spoke about bias. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, fraud, right? Like, with so much fraudulent applications generated by AI, creating such a high level of volume of applicants that are just fraudulent for many different reasons. They could be straight up fraud. They could just be spammed up at all. How does this tool help to combat and break through?
Yeah. So excuse me. There's a few approaches to this. We're seeing at the moment somewhere between 50 and 70% of candidates who are applying to jobs either being fake, or being people who are not really interested in the jobs because
It's
they've
completely unqualified, right?
either unqualified, or they've just used AI tools to
Spray
apply
and
to
pray.
1,000 roles for them. And that's becoming increasingly common, which is really crappy for the great candidates who are struggling to stand out. Um, so, a few things. Firstly, just by virtue of including an AI interviewer into your pipeline, and this, by the way, doesn't just go for Ezra, it goes for probably everyone. Just by virtue of putting an AI interview, you're going to filter out a lot of these people because they don't like, these people do not like AI interviewers. They do not like the fact that there's normally a recording, there's some effort that you need to put in. Like, a lot of people talk about effort as though it's a bad thing, but
No,
like,
friction's good.
good. Yeah, it's good. So just by virtue of that, you're going to eliminate a lot of that noise. Downstream of that, we have a number of things that we do. So, firstly, we have a cheat detection system that detects if someone is reading from a script, whether that's ChatGPT or Claude or
Screen.
Yeah, we don't do any visual analysis. We've
Oh, it's
seen
just audio.
Just audio. As you can see from the cards in the background, I'm a professional magician in my spare time, and so I've studied a thing or two about misdirection and where people look. It's a very there's a lot of noise in that. There's these myths about people look to the left when they're lying and look to the right when they're honest. It's just not true. And there's legitimate reasons to be looking around the screen, or looking down at your phone. So, and some people have two monitors. There's lots
That's what I'm doing. Like this is your eyesight here, but this is my screen. Like this, if I'm looking at you in the eye, this is me looking at you in the eye in the screen, but this is me looking at you on my camera here. So there's
Right.
subtle differences.
Right, and so you probably wouldn't appreciate being flagged as being cheating right now, right? So,
No, I
um,
wouldn't appreciate that.
yeah, exactly. So we have a cheat detection system which detects a very high accuracy whether candidates are reading from a script or not. And then we have other kind of fraud detection tools that kind of review the resume and other kind of metadata of their application that flags a very high accuracy whether someone is fake or not. And that's been validated by tools of third parties as well.
Well, it's excellent that this technology is coming in here. So as we wrap up here, I'm curious, what are you most excited about joining the Greenhouse team?
I think first and foremost, it's the ability to introduce the technology on a wider stage, and we're very aligned in our visions of making applications just more conversational, like looking for kind of better signal in what people want when they're applying for jobs and what companies need when they're hiring people for those jobs. So we're just kind of really aligned on that. And for me, not much changes. I still myopically focused on building this technology and using it to make life better for candidates and recruiters, and just thrilled to be doing this with the support of a larger team at Greenhouse.
Well, congrats again, Ophir. Congrats to you and the team. We're excited to watch this space. Where could folks connect with you? Where could they learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. So either through our website, which is ezrarecruiting.com, or by all means, drop me a note on LinkedIn, and I will be happy to connect.
Awesome. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Bye.
It's time to talk.
Good morning, Mr. Rogers. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mr. Trent. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well, doing well. It's kind of weird to see you virtually. Usually we're hanging out at conferences together.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I'm good. I'm good being at home for a little bit. It was a
Hey,
rough 9 weeks straight on the road, so
it
it's been
it
pretty rough.
was. Yeah, I feel you. It's kind of like, oh wow, I can actually connect thoughts for an entire 5 days consecutively, which is a nice benefit though. But I do like being out and meeting people and hearing what's going on the ground. I know you do too. And speaking of, I want to tackle a topic with you because you have some really interesting research that I want to get into. You have, I guess, the future of work as human is kind of the premise of it. So. Can you just tell us a little bit about the research and then we'll dig in? Because I have a lot of questions. I love the data.
Yeah, it's actually just a conversation that was just had here with Adam, and one of the things that we're seeing, and I speak a lot of on the employee side. I'm passionate about the
Hmm.
culture,
Right.
passionate about leadership, and then obviously in the world of AI, we've all moved past this fearful stage of AI is replacing us, AI is taking over. We moved past the stages where HR technology was becoming the agents of the agents and who had the newest agents, right? We moved past all those phases
Right.
and we're back to square one, Trent. At the end of the day, Trent and George love having conversations with Trent and George,
Right.
right? The humanity aspect of life and work is premium more than ever. And some of our new research, specifically within the TA, and there, I'll share some alignment even on the culture, performance, and recognition, how this all really ties together. One of the things that we highlighted right now, and you're seeing especially in candidates, We looked at what damages their experience when applying for these jobs the most.
Hmm.
And as we look talking about the fraud on both sides, it's not just employer fraud, it's also the employees that are committing fraud, right?
Right.
We're
Right.
right here today. I can be sitting with technology. For every question that you ask me, my AI bot can give me a solution and an answer for me within a matter of 30 seconds, right? So I sound as if I know the right answer, but really it's just AI telling me exactly what to say. And you're seeing that for the candidates experience. And so there's a lot of trust issues on both sides of the platform. But when we talked about this, what damages their experience when it comes to applying jobs the most from the candidates looking at these answers, some of the top things that damages is no feedback after applying. Just simple things,
The
right?
black
Simple
hole.
things that AI could really take care of.
Hmm.
It's also about the rejection without the human touch. And so it's not just about, hey, I didn't get this job, but I didn't even have a conversation with somebody to let me know why was I not, able to get this job? What some things I can work on? Give me some feedback. What can I do better? What part of the interview did I bomb? And I felt we all have those nervous jitters, right? And especially for people in this day and age, Trent, where you look like you're working in one industry and all of a sudden that industry is different, and you have to pivot and go somewhere else, right? And so it's one of those challenges where it's not just about technology. It's about the human aspect that is ghosting.
Hmm.
In this thing where AI screening with no human reviewer on the other side. And so I'm being dictated by technology versus a human actually going in and seeing what George's potential and possibilities are. And then you got the inconsistencies of messagings between the recruiting and hiring managers.
Oh my
One
God.
saying one thing, the other saying a different. And so there's no clarity, right? Which is a flag for me. If there's no clarity in the conversation in the beginning, I can imagine what the organization looks like once I'm in it. And so you got these gaps there where the hiring process is different. And people or candidates are saying, listen, give me a chance. Let me try. Judge me for me and not my resume. Reading them from an AI versus actually human touch, a human conversation that can really influence. I'll tell you, my resume will probably stink. But let me get on a conversation with you and you get to
Right.
meet George. It looks different. It feels different, right?
Hmm. Yeah, mine is a little bit of schizophrenia, especially earlier on. And then it's like, how in the world did you end up in HR and what are you doing today? So, I mean, definitely to your point, there needs to
Yeah.
be, there's a story there. It's funny. I kind of feel like some of the candidate feedback is just being exacerbated because of the whole AI thing. I had a rule whenever I managed a recruiting team. If you speak to a candidate, if you screen them, or if a hiring manager speaks to them, do not send them the automatic thanks but no thanks email once a decision's been made. You
Yeah.
had the conversation with them, close with the conversation, and then follow up with the email. Just
Yeah.
like basic humanity. So we've been struggling with this whole humanity aspect in TA. I just really feel like it's just becoming hyped up. Not well, it's becoming more of an issue because we have so many people out of work. But there was one part of your research that was really interesting. You were able to determine how many days before a new employee knows whether they want to stay with an organization or not. It was mind-boggling.
Yeah, you think about it. That brand marketing is a beautiful thing. We can brand our company and organizations to
Hmm.
be beautiful, sound great, even through the hiring process, even through maybe an on-site review and hiring managers walking around showing you things. When we ask the question, how long does it take you to know whether or not you're going to stay or leave that company? Typically you think about, when I was in the job place, I was looking at, I was looking forward to my 30-day review, my 90-day,
Yeah,
probationary stage, whatever it may be. Employees right now, candidates are saying within 5 days, Trent, five
wow.
days, I've made a decision whether or not I'm going to stay or leave this company. And I think this is the aspect. This is a gap, right? When you think
Yeah.
about it, we've we're having these conversations more and more. I think one thing that was beautiful, if there was a beautiful thing to come out of the mess of 2020, and I don't like to say the CRP word from there. I try to
Right.
eliminate my vocabulary. But if we can learn anything, what was a positive out of that is that through that separation, um, we become more close. We want to talk to each other. We want to touch. Like we want to have those conversations more and more than ever, and we're having those. And so it's I'm starting to have a job, and I meet Trent at the lunch table, and we're chatting, and I'm asking
Hmm.
Trent how does he like this job. Trent's been with the company for 5 years, and I have another conversation with Sarah, right? And we having these different conversations, and I'm hearing company's good, but I'm here for the check. Or,
Right.
leaders say one thing, they do. We have these conversations, and we know we can see it.
Hmm.
Our discernment is and our alertness is up. And so when we realize what we were told is different from the reality, we continue to look. Most employees now are not stopped looking. For two reasons. One, the new generation, they're trying to grow and scale. They're trying to learn what they can learn and move to the next place and pivot. And then you have some that are just, we're not content with just a check, right? If you're not going
Hmm.
to pay me the value, I want to grow, I want to be developed. Those are the highest things that people are seeking. When there's a gap in some of those areas where there's a gap within values, we now say, what are your core values and how do they align with my core values? It's no longer that the company has core values, right? It's how do they connect with mine and my priority, and things in that nature. So it's interesting to say, within 5 days, yeah, I'm gonna stay here. I like it. Or within 5 days, I'm continuing to look and I haven't stopped looking. And if something better open up, I'd be willing to leave for that
Wow.
better position.
And you also had some interesting stats on AI underperforming. What's the primary reason that you're finding, and then what advice would you give to vendors or clients to kind of keep that performance level high? Because it's a pretty large investment.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about all the changes, and let's look at what AI has done. When you look at it as an organization, what what's the current approach to AI investment? We're seeing the impact of why people are pivoting, whether it's from layoffs and things of that nature, to pivot more towards their AI investment in recruitment. The biggest one is that they're actively increasing investment based on demonstration results. They're looking at those things. They're looking at and evaluating things that can help them in the next move and pivot, to be able to make things faster. Everything's got to be fast paced.
Right.
Where we're looking at it from an efficiency standpoint, is it efficient? Are there
Hmm.
gaps? As I mentioned earlier, what are we missing on currently within our AI technology? And how is it hurting us? Is it hurting us because there's no human touch, because decisions are being made when there's no human involvement, because people are being denied, right? And so there's so many times that George is going to sign up, and the moment I hear AI is making the first initial call, and I just realized, and I had a previous experience. You got to think about the experience George has had. He was just
Right.
denied by the same type of process. And so at some point, George is only going to go through a process and become the person that goes to the organization, because I would rather just say, hey, I need a hiring manager. I need somebody that I can actually talk to, because I'm tired of being judged on AI and making a decision where I know
Hmm.
I'm qualified. And so when you think about some of those things, and how you were using them, there has to be a way to be able to adapt in those gaps that you're having. How much time is AI saving right now per recruiter?
Hmm.
It's 2 to 5 hours, right? Based on our research, 2 to 5 hours is how much time people are saving on recruitment. But what are we doing with that time, Trent? What should we be doing, right? I'll ask you that question. If
Yeah.
I say right now as a recruiter, Trent, I'm saving you 2 to 5 hours, how are you maximizing those 2 or 5 hours, and still without losing the most premium part of work, and that's humanity,
Mm.
right?
Well, I love all of that, and I love I'm a big fan of both you and Ben and the research that you all do. What There's a big thing that you all do on the summer months. You want to share everybody what it is in our last minute wrap up?
Yeah, June 2nd through the 4th, it is our largest, it's kind of our Super Bowl for Lighthouse. We do a thing called HR Summer School. Again, it started during the pandemic, where we wanted to just give back to the HR professionals, business leaders. Right now, over 2,500 people registered,
Wow.
3 day virtual event, 2.5 hours a day. And the first day, day one, Trent, you should come to Nashville and hang out with me. We're going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, day one. We're going to be live in person. Have a great friend of mine with S3 Technologies. They are a recycling tech company out of Nashville, Tennessee. Also have a location in California. Going to be sitting down with him talking about nothing is impossible. Our whole focus is the future of work is human, and so we got a lot of involvement there. Shane No, Angela Bridgepage is going to be speaking as well. Allison Smart, Carmer Scott, some great speakers, lovely
Awesome.
sponsors. We're going to have a great time virtually. Join us. Be fun.
Sounds
hrsummerschool.org.
hrsummerschool.org. Definitely go and check it out. I know I've been a part of it Fantastic stuff, George. Thanks for the research, and I will kick it back over to our men of the hour, the two hosts.
Hey there, Carrie. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ron? It's good to see you again.
I didn't know I was going to see you today when we saw each other at the recent Recruiting Innovation Summit down in Atlanta, but good to see you again so quickly.
Absolutely. You too. I'm a little bit shocked at Georgia's stat that a new hire would decide within 5 days if they're going to stay with a company or not.
Yeah, that's really a wild data point. So, Carrie, tell us a little bit about you. I've got some intro notes I can jump into, but certainly would like to hear, and everybody would probably rather hear from you than me anyway. So, tell us a little about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have over 10 plus years in the employer brand recruitment marketing space. And I used to be Carrie Cares Consulting, and I completely shifted my trajectory, changed my name and my brand to Unbreakable Light so that I can shine a light on companies so that they can radically accept what they are doing incorrectly and how they can make improvements and turn their pain into gold, whether that's candidate experience or EVP or the like.
I love that. So your focus is really on the employer brand side of things. I know you've got a very well-rounded, diverse background, but tell us a little bit more about, how you've been helping companies really sort of see the light. Certainly a fascinating name, Unbreakable Light, but tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing for companies out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Building employee advocacy programs, I mean, those are so critical these days to helping companies build their brand so that they can have a recruiting arm essentially, and they can help attract the right talent to those companies. So I'm seeing a lot of need for the employee advocacy programs as well as video for recruitment marketing. I mean, video, as you know, is just so incredibly powerful because candidates want to hear from hiring managers. They don't want to hear from the CEO and authentic videos at that. So that's where I'm seeing the most interest in what I'm currently doing. And then also doing workshops. So the other thing that I do is I am a keynote speaker and I can develop custom workshops. And I talk about a little bit about my experience and how I came up with Unbreakable Light because I went through a near-death experience. And I had to take a look at myself and give radical self-acceptance, and then I had to turn my pain into gold. So I bring that human aspect that you might not get otherwise.
Wow. Yeah. Awesome. I don't know if you're comfortable talking more about that, but certainly would love to hear more about your story and how you sort of flipped the script on that. And I will note that you also mentioned how candidates want to speak with the hiring manager and alluded to them wanting to speak to humans. Today, everybody's trying to get them to talk to AI, and I think there's a real mixed reaction to that as well. But would love to hear more about that aspect of your story and how you're translating that into stories for employers and I guess kind of motivating people. You're on the speaker tour. Sounds like you're doing a lot of motivational sort of speaking as well, which is exciting.
It is. It's super exciting, and it was not a complete change in my trajectory because I've been on stage before, but it was something that I'm passionate about. I truly believe that my spiritual gift is my voice, and that we all have stories, and we should share our stories because we never know who we may impact. We won't necessarily see that impact. But if someone can take away just one nugget of information or an idea from someone who does share a story, it can be so powerful because you never know what people are going through. So when I had my brain aneurysm, it was a unique experience. I was newly divorced, and this was the first person who I had dated, and it happened when I was with him, and he wasn't all that concerned about it. I was very concerned. I didn't know what had happened. Didn't know that I just knew that something was wrong. And so in the moment, I didn't know that I had a brain aneurysm. I actually thought I was drugged, and and so fast forward a couple days later, like I never went to urgent care. I don't know why I didn't. I called my sister instead because she had had a mini stroke. And I was asking her, like, hey, what were your symptoms? What did that look like? Because I thought, well, maybe that's what happened. And so I never went to the emergency room. And so a couple days later, then I went to urgent care, and they ran all sorts of tests, and they said, you're not presenting symptoms. We're not seeing anything in the drug tests that we ran, so that's inconclusive. So then fast forward to my doctor, my appointment, I had to get an MRI done, and the MRI confirmed that it was a small brain aneurysm. And, I think the statistics are pretty grim on people who have brain aneurysms surviving. And so I know I was divinely protected, even though the situation was a little bit strange and how it all unfolded. And so after that, it forced me to take a look at how am I living my life? Who am I spending time with? Am I spending time with the right people, doing the right things in my life, and how can I make changes? And so I focused on the body, mind, spirit connection. And I was unemployed at the time, so I did have time to focus on it. So I started doing yoga. I started working out 3 times a week. I started dancing every morning, which I still do because that's how I meditate. I'm a terrible traditional meditator. And so I shined that light on myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is radical self-acceptance. This is part of my healing process. I need to go through this. And it's been an incredible journey. And then just going through that, I looked at it and said, well, how can I help companies do the same thing? There's a lot of synergies there with what I went through, and you just never know what others are going through, especially employees in a company.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a powerful story, and I guess it's sort of brought about this unbreakable light aspect and how you kind of redefined things, but super powerful. And I think just raising awareness. I talk a lot in the accessibility, disability, inclusion space, and I always say raising awareness, bringing visibility to things is really the biggest impact that I have, and it sounds like you can have a really big impact there. How is that received by companies that you speak to, that you work with? How do you sort of translate that into, let's focus on the important aspects of the organization, the culture, the brand, that sort of thing?
Right, that's a great question. So my goal is to open their minds to looking at that body, mind, spirit connection and how that pertains to the culture in the company and how people are treated. So really shining a light on those different aspects, and then also with the candidate experience. I think that's one of the critical aspects, because you have to treat people with dignity, and I mean, you don't have to, you should treat people with dignity and respect. And it's not easy being laid off or, even leaving a company on your own accord when your values don't align. So really just getting in there and bringing more of the humanity elements to it and getting them to open their mind and think a little bit differently and not so like corporate-esque.
Yeah, I think many organizations have proven that you don't have to provide humanity and a great candidate experience. You can sort of plunder through, right, and not even think about it. But it is certainly, I think, hopefully swinging back the other way, where people are going to leverage AI to do those high volume, low value tasks and not try to be their human aspect. And that's not the most humanity they get from it. So it's fantastic to hear. And then how do you leverage your story to do that? Like, how does that kind of, where is that transition point or that segue over to, talking about your personal story and then really talking about how a company can make an impact for people?
Um, that's a great question. It's hard to answer. It's the clients who I work with, there has to be a good synergy there and a good connection. For instance, the last person who I met, she's originally from Wisconsin, so am I, and her husband had a brain aneurysm. And so when I was sharing my story, it resonated with her. And then she said, "Oh my gosh, I just love your story and everything that you've been through." And it happens to be a Women in Tech event here in Tulsa. And she just founded that group in February. And she said, "Our members are looking for information like this." Now, this is more on the career side of things and how to manage up, down, across, and what that looks like, and movement and things like that. And she said, "We've got our whole schedule planned out already for the year. What if we created an event in June and we brought you in as the keynote speaker? Because our people really need this type of information and inspiration."
Yeah, absolutely. And then I understand that I know you've spoken at a bunch of HR events and that you recently landed a spot in the top 10 in the Global Next Top Speaker Tournament. Tell us a little bit about that and, what you're bringing to that tournament.
Oh, absolutely. So it was an interesting situation. I truly believe that God will do things to let you know that if you are not in the right spot, career-wise, things will pop up and those will be put in front of you. And it's whether or not you listen to your intuition. And if you don't listen to your intuition, then you might get slapped a little bit harder. So I actually had one of those experiences, and I chose to leave my job in January. And the value was not aligning anymore, and it was literally sucking the life out of my soul to be there anymore. And so I made a hard decision, and I chose to leave. And then I was on TikTok every single day, and then I got banned from TikTok. And I didn't do anything wrong on TikTok. And so that forced me to be on Facebook more often. And I ran across an ad for the Next Top Speaker, did some investigating, their group out of Australia. And I was like, okay, well, there's some legit prizes here, like 10 grand for first prize and 4 and 2 for, 2 and 3. And I was like, all right, I enjoy speaking, so why not? And so I had to shoot a 2 to 3 minute pitch reel, submit that. There were over 7,000 submissions. They narrowed that down to the top 200. Then they narrowed that down to the top 100. The top 100 competed. And this was all virtual. I didn't get to go to Australia, unfortunately. And so I made it through the top 100, then I made it through the top 50, and then I landed in the top 10. And for me, that was a sign that I made the right decision in leaving the situation I was in. And it really, like, everything that God, Spirit, universe is putting in my path is pointing me towards your spiritual gift is your voice. And you need to tell your story. And so I look for different ways to do that. And it was so much fun.
That's awesome, Carrie, and a very compelling story. Thank you for sharing that with us today
You're
here.
welcome.
And best of luck in the contest. I think with a great story and all of your speaking experience, I think it bodes well. So best of luck in that contest, and have a great day today.
Thank
I'll
you.
I'll pass it back to the Purple Acorn.
Appreciate being here. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
I'm here. I'm here. A little slow on the buttons this morning. I think the coffee is wearing off. That was a solid chat. I mean, listen, it always goes back to you never know what folks are going through. I talk about this with employers all the time. You never know what people are battling on the other side. And just to be more empathetic and understanding, and just take a beat before you react. And I think that's the key takeaway here. Great chat, Ron.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a little bit of humanity, and I have a colleague in the industry that wore a T-shirt to an event one time that just said, "Be a nice person," and it's so basic, but it's so true, right? Like, let's stop. Let's have a little empathy. Lead with empathy. Stop looking for opportunities to to drag others down, for sure. So it's very great chat.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of those people that keeps positivity in my world and so many of ours is our man, Evan White here. Let's give a little shout out to my man, Evan. I think we have a cool little video, don't we, Alan? Yes. No, we already played the video, but that's the guy. He's not pointing at me. He's pointing at you because he's a guy in the HR and TA tech world for anything and everything. He's a consummate connector. He is by far my top 3 nicest human beings I know, most generous, most caring. He opens up connections for everybody. He's a connector. That's what he does best, and he makes things happen. So if you're in the TA or HR tech world, if you're looking to make things happen for your company or for your brand, you're looking to get connected, Evan White is your man. Talent Tech PR. Connect with Evan White. He's your man. Wouldn't you agree?
I absolutely agree. Yeah, Evan's an awesome human being, very smart guy as well. And he didn't pay me anything to say those things either.
No, we definitely did not. There's no free coffees involved on this one. Well, Ron, this was a fantastic show. We had some incredible conversations. Congrats again to the Ezra team for their acquisition by Greenhouse, their pending acquisition. That's exciting news to watch the innovation in this space. We've had some tremendous conversations today. Shout out to my men, Trent and George, 2 of the best in the business. I consider friends, mentors, allies, just awesome human beings. That's a fantastic chat. Everyone out there, remember, we are a podcast. You can follow us on all the platforms. We are on the platforms. You can check us out. We are here every Tuesday morning. Thank you for our friends at Calendar PA. Check them out. Check out Talent Tech PR. If you want more Purple Acorn, head over to purpleacornnetwork.com. We're a podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're here every Tuesday. He's Ron Fish. I'm Adam Poser, wishing you all a great day. Be good to yourself. Be better to others. And catch us next Tuesday morning for another HR Morning Show. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.